Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels, live from the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 60, right here, hanging out at what used to be called Radio Row, now known as Media Row. That's lots of podcasters, streamers, what have you, but still old school. We call it Radio Row. And coming to you here a little bit before Roger Goodell gives his press conference, which, interestingly enough, used to be all you needed was a Super Bowl credential to get in. But now it's invite only. They don't want riffraff in there like yours truly. But be that as it may, lots of stuff to talk about as usual leading up to the Super Bowl. If you are in the San Francisco area, tomorrow night there is a Cheesehead TV meetup going on. I've got the information on essentially, I want to say, each and every piece of social media that I own and that I'm part of, between Cheesehead TV and my personal stuff. I don't want anyone to miss it. So if you are in the area, come on out to Local Tap at 600 3rd Street, Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. here in San Francisco. Packers fans have reached out already from all over the kind of Bay Area to let me know that they'll be in attendance. If you haven't heard, yes, tomorrow night, meetup, Cheesehead TV here in San Francisco. Going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a lot of fun to hear from Brian Gutekunst, who will be speaking with the Packers media on Wednesday afternoon at 12:30 local Wisconsin time, due to the fact that they're doing construction, but they will be live streaming it. I made sure to ask the Packers if that was going to be occurring. It is. As you can see, having some stream issues, so you're going to have to bear with me. Always fun to be remote, especially when there's no Ethernet available, because I'm squatting on a table that isn't Cheesehead TV's, because the Super Bowl really I was talking to a couple of different people who create content both around the NFL and around sports in general. And it's interesting, comparative to last year in New Orleans, a lot fewer podcasters, streamers, what have you. But I'm still coming to you live each and every day, come hell or high water. Don't you worry about that. The big thing I did want to talk about earlier today, the NFL announced, and this had been reported for a while now, for a couple months already, that they are officially playing a game. The NFL is in Paris next year. We knew the Saints were going to be hosting that game. Now, the Packers do play the Saints on the road next year, so my hope had been that the Packers would be the opponent. That is not going to be the case, apparently. There is a couple reports this morning, not official from the NFL, but reporting around the league, that the Browns are going to be facing off against the Saints, which, yikes. Have a great time watching Saints-Browns there, French NFL fans. Going to be a good time. But there are going to be 8 international games next year, 3 in London. And then, of course, as I said, the Paris game, along with games in Madrid, Rio de Janeiro, Munich, and Melbourne, Australia, where the Rams are headed. Packers do play the Rams next year. And the other component here, which is somewhat more unfortunate, it has been 4 years since the Packers were the, quote, home team in London against the Giants, which does mean the league could compel them to host a game overseas. This is a season. Every other year, the Packers have 9 home games. This is a season where they do have 9 games slated to be played at Lambeau Field. The league could easily send one of those games overseas. Myself, selfishly, I'm rooting for Melbourne, the Packers, to face off against the Rams in Australia. I have to be a part of that. That would be absolutely amazing. To be on the other side of the world watching the Green Bay Packers, that would be incredible. I know your mileage may vary. I am all in on the idea of international expansion in the NFL, and I love the Packers part of it, especially with their brand being as big and as important as anything to the league as far as historically, worldwide recognition. I think we realized, especially with the meetup we had in London, how big the Packers brand is after hearing from so many of you from all over the world who attended that meetup. And then again, kind of reiterated in Sao Paulo a couple years ago in the Eagles game. It's incredible to see the reach that the Packers brand has. So I'll be crossing my fingers. I know some of you, probably many of you, aren't big fans of that, but I'm hoping. Here we go. I am very much hoping for it. Good to see everybody in the comment section. Thank you so much for sticking with me through some technical difficulties here. Really appreciate each and every one of you chiming in, taking a look, taking a listen later on the podcast. And yes, I don't ever pub this, but it is. Packers Daily is available as a podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms. So if you miss me here when I'm live on the YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Packers Daily is there. So before we get going, you guys know I got to give a shout out to our friends over at ThedaCare. With ThedaCare Orthopedic Care, championship level care is delivered to every fan and every athlete. Whether you're dealing with a nagging injury or recovering from surgery, the ThedaCare team is ready to help you heal smart and get back in the game. Because in Wisconsin, folks play hard and recover harder. ThedaCare, proud sponsor of Cheesehead TV. All right, folks, what are we doing? Let's do this. Come on now. We got comments up in here. E4 starting us off. What's going on, man? I'm hoping Matt LaFleur will be open to using AI to expand offensive and defensive schemes. It can be a useful tool. Pretty sure everyone in the league will be using it. That is a very interesting question. It's all dependent on how you utilize it, right? But I do think at some point, if everyone is using it and it is a mechanism that pulls from lots of different sources, lots of people may be coming up with very similar answers via AI. I think the key will continue to be your ability to be creative on your own and with your staff. And I don't want to dismiss or diminish the power of AI because it's here to stay and it's certainly going to continue to infiltrate every part of our lives. But I don't doubt for a moment it's something they'll look at and probably already have a part of. But I don't think it's going to be calling plays anytime soon. Let's put it that way. Mike Witt, how are you, sir? What up, Nags? Will you be going to see Keyshawn in the Pro Bowl this week? I will not. The Pro Bowl is happening pretty far away from where the media center here is and where our hotels are. I'm going to be sticking around this area. But I know there will be plenty of Packers fans in attendance. I know Keyshawn will undoubtedly have a great time. I've already seen some fun videos of him and I believe his family. But no, I will not be making the trek. Big Al, that's a pretty broad, sweeping question. Hey, Nags, what's the Packers' biggest mistake personnel-wise, roster construction-wise, or anything from the 2025 season? I mean, it's easy to look at the free agent acquisitions and say, that was a monster mistake and certainly didn't get the return that you were hoping for. I do think there's some merit to the idea, and this is not hindsight as far as the criticisms that were levied when the signings were made. I know there were a lot of people who said, these are two injury-prone guys who have injuries kind of throughout their history in the league already. And then both of those guys played out quite a bit of 2025, with injuries or on the sideline because of injury. So I think that's a fair kind of criticism, but I think the biggest mistake, if you're talking about the biggest mistake of the season, personnel-wise, roster construction-wise, was, not just allowing your starting center to walk in Josh Myers, which totally made sense, but your answer being moving Elton Jenkins and then signing Aaron Banks. That cascade of kind of decision-making essentially doomed them, I want to say. Look, you can always point to injuries, and certainly the Packers had to deal with a ton of that. Certainly on the offensive line with Zach Tom being in and out of the lineup a couple of times with injuries. But I think the Packers really shot themselves in the foot. Taking Elton out of a position that he'd been playing at a very high level for them for a number of years, switching him to center, which he hadn't played since college. Yes, he had, I believe, a 5-game stretch in 2022 or so. And then a handful of starts here or there or kind of emergency duty when guys got hurt, etc., but hadn't played it since college, right? And it certainly showed up before he got hurt. He was not the answer at center. I think that was very, very clear. And it didn't help that in doing so, apparently, I guess they didn't really talk to him about it regarding his contract, because you have to think, his time away in the offseason certainly didn't help matters as far as getting up to speed playing center again, right? Because to me, if their offensive line is even close to as effective as it had been over the course of the last couple of years, they probably win a couple more games. Maybe they're hosting a home playoff game, and who knows what's happening in the playoffs, right? I do think that was the downfall of their team. And I know people are going to point to the corner room, and for good reason. The talent there was less than ideal. But I also think that once you traded for Micah Parsons and you had the crew working up front, you could win with that. You saw evidence of it all throughout the year. And then when Micah and Devontae Wyatt went down, that got exposed, right? But you can't control injuries. What you can control is who you sign or who you move along your offensive line and the reasons for doing so, and what makes you maneuver and sign a big ticket free agent at guard, I think on the first day. Again, that cascade of decisions, I think, really set the Packers up or put the Packers in a tough spot along the offensive line. What else we got here, folks? Joe Mailman, how are you, sir? I hated it when the NFL went from 16 to 17 games, but now I'm looking forward to going to 18. 17 just seems off. Will they add a bye week? God, I hope so. That's the only way it's tenable, right? I mean, you're sitting here at 17 games now, and we're watching ghost ships of teams down the path of 14, 15, 16 weeks where there's these lengthy injury reports and guys are in and out of the lineup. You got to have that second bye week if you're going to go to 18 games. I think that's an absolute no-brainer. Although this is the NFL, so that just because it's a no-brainer doesn't mean they're going to do it. But I think they have to. And it helps the NFL in course of, yes, they want a Week 18 game, but they have always wanted to push the Super Bowl into President's Day weekend, which if you add that 18th game and add a bye week, you got a chance to make that work. Klaus, how you doing, sir? Thank you for all your good work with Gannon as DC. Is there a chance we can lure Fairholt center to Green Bay? We could use a good center. Not quite sure the connection from one to the other. Possibly. I think, anything's possible. Let's say that. But I don't think they're going to go that route. I suspect they're going to draft somebody and have Jacob Monk compete with whoever they draft. That's just guesswork on my part, but I would think that's the path forward. Soder, what's going on, man? Finally got my Ben Johnson shirt. Quality of the actual t-shirt is really good. So soft. Random Packer, Alan Risher. Well, yeah, if you haven't got your Ben Johnson t-shirt yet, I encourage you to do so. It's available in the Cheesehead TV shop, store, what have you. Fun fact, I met a couple of guys from Bears Radio this morning when I was walking through. They wasted no time in giving me some grief. It's going to be a fun week. I just said it was nice of them to finally show up. Mike Witt, how are you, sir? My hot take this week is for Super Bowl, Seahawks will win and will win by a couple of TDs. A couple of TDs. Oh, baby. That's a hot one right there. I think it's going to be a close game. Most NFL games are in general, especially when you got two really good teams facing off. I was on with Nick Costas this morning talking both Packers and NFL, and I said I'm going to take the Seahawks in a one-score game. It's going to be 30-26 Seahawks. Although I do think, man, the Patriots are so well coached. They have Vrabel is so good with that squad. It's going to be a tough game. Tough game for both sides. I've seen this quite a bit. Did Ryan do enough to earn a chance at the center gig full time? I do think there's definitely a chance they re-sign him, but I also think he would be remiss in not trying to test the market, right? I think they'll maybe. I can't say yes, definitely will. I think they make some sense to try and keep him. But I also think, you can't pay everybody. You've certainly got a number of mouths to feed. You got extensions for Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft, et cetera, coming up that you're going to have to deal with. Has he done enough? He certainly solidified the offensive line, but I don't think anybody would mistake what he put on tape in 2025 as, well, you've got your starting center of the future. Set it and forget it. I think if you're the franchise, you've got to try and get better there. And your contingency plan is, you've had Jacob Monk trying to kind of develop along the lines of the last couple of years. But like I said, I think they're probably going to try and draft somebody, though this sounds like a shallow pool of possibilities there along the center position. So we'll see how they approach it. But I don't know. Sean Ryan coming back, if he would agree to a below market value deal, possibly. But that's a lot of ifs right there. What else we got here, folks? Andrew Ware, how are you, sir? Wore my throwback Parsons jersey and Packer beanie to a kid's birthday party yesterday. Is it September yet? I know. This is really when it starts to kind of sink in, right? We get the long dark of the offseason stretching out in front of us. I mean, look, we're going to do everything we can here at Cheesehead TV to make the offseason pass by as quickly as possible. But we are all fans of a sport and a franchise and a, league that has the longest offseason in professional sports, sadly. But that's why 18 games, getting to the President's Day weekend, drawing out as much as possible. That's the path forward, definitely. Jimmy, I'm glad you brought this up. I did kind of mention it at the start. Let's hope that a Packers international game doesn't count as a home game. That's the unfortunate reality, is that they're certainly going to be able to compel the Packers to give up a home game this year if they want to, they being the NFL. It is a year where the Packers have that extra home game, but every 4 years, the league can make you play an international game as the home team. And that is where the Packers lie right now. 2022, they were the home team against the Giants in London. It has been 4 years. Now the league can send them overseas again if they want. And you got to think there's a decent chance that happens. I know it sucks for Green Bay as far as losing that potential revenue kind of injection there for that 9th game. But, the growth of the league, their whole plan is international expansion, more and more games overseas. And the Packers, as part of the league, they're going to have to play along. I applaud Mark Murphy for slow playing it as long as he could. He did everything he could to make sure the Packers never lost home games for the international expansion while he was president and CEO, right up until that Giants game in London, which was kind of like the sea change, right? And that's where the league really made it very clear that this was priority and that teams were going to have to get on board. And that's where we are right now. Jimmy, what's up, man? Man, some of those Week 18 games were brutal. Soon we are adding a 19th week. Less is more. Do you see a day when the NFL is viewed how the current NBA is? No chance. Yeah, I get it, man. I totally understand what you're saying, especially the mash units that some teams have to roll out there and how hard it is to watch some of the slate there late in the year where teams that, are eliminated from the playoffs and aren't really playing for much. Yeah, they are hard. Those games are difficult to watch. No question about it. But the drama, I mean, just look no further than that literally the final game of the regular season, Steelers versus Ravens. That's the drama that the NFL loves. And as long as they have a handful of those each and every week, 18, 19, whatever, man, they don't care about all the other flotsam and jetsam of the remaining games. As long as they got the number one television show in America week after week, they're winning. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. Jerry, what's up, man? Get some In-N-Out. I went to high school in the East Bay. If I see one, I will definitely get some. But I ain't going out of my way for it. Let's put it that way. Mike Witt, how are you, sir? I don't know why, but I think Micah is going to be running full bore on sidelines at training camp like Christian was. I think he's going to attack the rehab process like Christian did last offseason. Yeah, I mean, certainly already had a couple of glimpses into his rehab on social media. You got to think he is certainly going to be as diligent and as strident with his rehab as we saw Christian be throughout his process. And yeah, man, I'm with you. I fully expect him to be out there in some capacity, running around, doing like some straight line running and things like that. What's funny is that, like, I don't know if people remember, but during training camp, like Christian did a whole kind of workout after practice was over most days. Like he would do, agility stuff and running straight line stuff. And I remember we were all like thinking, like, he can't be this far along. And he just looked out of this world ready there in August, right? And I don't know, it's hard for me to sit here and bet against Micah Parsons looking the same way, right? Especially since his injury occurred a little earlier. I do think. Now, all of that said, I don't think anyone should be under any illusions that he's going to be ready for week one. Even he himself said most likely PUP. But hell, if you get Micah Parsons back week 5, you're cooking with gas. Menace, what's going on? Sure, we're not playing in the Super Bowl, but look at it this way. At least we didn't let go of a 14-win Pro Bowl quarterback who was playing in the Super Bowl in favor of a guy who, woof, and then our GM got nuked from orbit. Yeah, at least it's there is that. We can at least hang our hat on that. Yeah, I mean, that whole process and kind of playing out of the GM getting fired there in Minnesota. Whew, baby. But yeah, that was an all-time horrible call at the quarterback position. And ultimately it cost him his job. No doubt about that. What's up, Gary? Go see Bob Strum at the Ticket Dallas table. What's so funny, I met Bob outside of this building 10 years ago when the last time the Super Bowl was here. True story. I met him on the sidewalk right outside, like right over there. Bob's a great guy. Love his content. Good dude. Stanley, thank you for being a Carry the G Club member. Like Packers legend Kevin King said, how about y'all eat a damn salad? What is that supposed to mean? I don't know. Is that a fat joke? I mean, trust me, it ain't what I'm eating. It's what I'm drinking. And I ain't never going to stop. Evil Badger, what's going on, man? I want the Packers to play in Germany. So do I. The Munich game would be amazing, especially if it's in October. Let's go. I am all about that life. I mean, I really don't care where it is internationally. I love it when the Packers go overseas. I'm hoping they will again, but yeah, I would love it if it was in Germany. That would be incredible. Klaus, how are you, sir? If playing 18 games, will they have a 58-man squad? Certainly will be in the discussions whenever the negotiations take place for the next collective bargaining agreement. They would undoubtedly have to have that conversation. The owners have done yeoman's work trying to beat back that idea for as long as possible. But you got to think if they do go to 18 games, that is certainly roster expansion in any way, shape, or form is one of the nuggets that they will have to negotiate and that the players will use to try and, get a little bit of a concession out of the owners. Ultimately, we all have been talking about this as it's a foregone conclusion for like 8 years or so. But yeah, there are things like that the players are going to have to use. And I do think there's a decent chance that happens. Mike Witt, thanks again, man. Let's finally do a Cheesehead TV Big Lebowski watch party this offseason, Nags. I'll try to get to it. It's always hard rhythm-wise during the offseason, like during the depths of the dead part of the offseason. It's tough to drop in there, but we'll do it. We'll do everything we can to do it finally. Rai, how are you, sir? Van Ness looked pretty good when he played this season. Big things ahead, I hope. The Packers hope, too. And yeah, man, I thought when he was on the field, and it sucks that he missed so much time, I thought he looked good. He looked like a guy who was really starting to figure it out. And, I mean, one of the nice kind of surprises of the season was how much Micah Parsons seems to really be behind him, be in his corner. Got to think, he's going to get an opportunity to be the primary rusher opposite Micah. That'll afford him a lot of opportunity if he can stay healthy, obviously. But, yeah, I'm with you, man. I think what he put on tape when healthy this season was pretty damn promising. I'm with you there. E4, how are you, man? What about insisting on grass fields if they go to 18? That will be 100% another thing that gets talked about. Now, I don't know if the owners ever move off of that. And, we've seen so many times throughout the history of the league, it's really hard for the players to dig in on something and outlast the owners. I do think that's certainly a bullet point in the conversation, but I'll be very surprised if NFL owners acquiesce to that. I think they should. I think it's a no-brainer. Man, there are some cheap-ass NFL owners, as we all know. And that would be something I would think, continue to push back at. That's just guesswork. All right, folks, I'm going to have to get going. Cannot thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Please do me a monster favor. Hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family, Cheesehead TV. We are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Don't forget, I'll be back tomorrow here from Radio Row, and happy hour is tomorrow night. So if you are a Carry the G Club member here on YouTube or a Patreon member, the information is on your respective pages. Happy hour at the regular time tomorrow night. I'll see you there. Everybody else, hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. Cheesehead TV. We're devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.